I made the build. It was nice, it had the zoom and the boom, but you were always on edge because you either play well to not get hit, or you die. Pretty much from anything and everything. I admit, that's a bit annoying. For reference, these are the stats of the old setup, and the damage was okay once you get enough gear, but the defense was just not there. Of course, if you equip a Headhunter, you feel power surging through your veins, you gain defense, you gain speed, you gain damage.
Garbage.
Okay, well, not garbage per se, but it could have been better for sure. So I present to you Zoom BV 2.0. Like, the build is actually nice now, like, it's great. Like and subscribe.
この半年でやれること増えたからな。マナゾーンに狂わな。
Alrighty, what is this? It is a reverse self-chill, low-life, power charge stacking Omni called Blade Vortex Elementalist with Melding of the Flesh, or Zoom BV 2.0 for short. And before diving into details about the build, let's get a few things out of the way. First, Mageblood. For people who don't have it yet, don't worry, build works fine without it. For people that have or can get one, is great. I'm currently playing a Mag Zoom Mageblood setup. It's my favorite setup since I primarily run around looking for harvests and just rush map bosses. It can also easily clear maps with Beyond and Delhi, but if you're juicing maps, I would recommend either using a Headhunter or at least getting an Inspired Learning. You can find multiple setups in my POB based on what content you want to do, so check them out. Speaking of different setups, I also made a 10 to 15x budget setup and added some notes on what to prioritize when upgrading in those early stages of investment. I hope that helps all my fellow budget gamers. Second, tank. It still dies, it's not immortal, but it's way better. Like, you can actually level up without Headhunter buffs, you can now tank at least one bonk from big boy uber bosses. Only one though. The build was never meant to be a boss killer, but with this version I took down all uber bosses first try, except for Uber Cirrus. Had some booty shit going on in that fight. Oh, and look at this. Don't tell anyone, there's some secret lightning warp tech. But then I did it deathless on my second try, so I'll take it. And as you can see here, 40% effect of chill on bosses makes them kinda slow.
Yo, Deathless! 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 Uber Cirrus!
As a quick summary, I can say that this is the most enjoyable build I've ever made, and probably overall played. It's not the highest damage, it's not the biggest tank, hell, it's not even the fastest build you can make. But god damn is it nice! It's my happy place, you know, it made me enjoy the game again. Anyway, let's dive into the gear. The weapon, Fulcrum. This is the core of the build. You need 100% or more total physical damage converted to elemental. Try to get cold conversion to be the highest, because that will result in more damage. All elemental ailments you inflict are reflected back to you. You can get quite a few benefits out of this, but inherently ailments are meant to hinder or kill your character, so we need to be inflicted with Ignite, Shock and Chill, but not affected by Ignite, Shock and Chill. Getting immunity to an ailment only works for freeze because we don't get any benefits from being frozen. Well, there is one thing. Death. So there are two main ways of dealing with freeze: Pantheon upgrade or crafted cannot be frozen on boots. For Ignite, the only option is to get an elevated mod on boots. If you don't get this, you just kill yourself. For Shock, we have a Flask mod that can get up to 65% reduced effect of Shock on you. With Mageblood, you can boost that up to 126%. But there is also a Harvest Craft for Jewel Implicits that can give you 15% reduced effect of Shock on you. So at least 3 of those and a Flask gets the job done. There is also a small Pantheon that gives 60% reduced effect of Shock on you, but then you lose the Unaffected by Burning Ground Pantheon option, and that's not good. If you don't get Shock effect reduction, the build still works, but you make yourself very squishy, up to 50% increased damage taken. As for Chill, there is a unique ring that reverses the effect of Chill, so instead of its normal effect, reduced action speed, we get increased action speed. That ring is Winterweave. Focus on percent attributes corruption. Best secondary corruptions for damage is Hatred Aura Effect, Zealotry Aura Effect, and called fire or lightning damage to attacks and spells. Crystallized Omniscience. By stacking attributes, any attributes, strength, dex, intelligence, we get elemental resistances and elemental penetration, which is good for damage. Ring number 2. +1 maximum power charge ring. Recombinators allowed us to get it as a prefix, but without getting kicked out of the game next patch, synthesized +1 power charge implicit will be the only way to get it. Also, get as many attributes as possible, and one thing to note is that +1 minimum frenzy charge is better than 55 of an attribute. Helmet. Black Sun Crest. +1 power charge is the most important thing. Blade Vortex duration enchant is just quality of life. I tend to overspam my BV anyway, but it's nice to have. Body armor. By using a sacrificial garb base, we get a free +1 level to Val Blade Vortex. And this is why on a lower budget, it's better to have a level 20 Val Blade Vortex rather than a level 21 normal Blade Vortex. Modifiers that we want here, Explodey for Explodey, and Aura Effect because it scales both defense and offense. 10% life as extra energy shield gives the highest EHP buffer. I have a tier 1 resistance roll here, you need that but not necessarily on the body armor. Also, attributes. Boots. Elevated, unaffected by Ignite. That is the most important thing to get here, and then Tailwind for more zoom. Movement speed with Onslaught on kill for even more zoom. Ideally, you would craft Suffixes Cannot Be Changed and then Ashling Slam to get 30% movement speed with Onslaught on kill, then craft Life or craft Cannot Be Frozen, and then you can change Pantheon for more damage over time mitigation. But it's risky, because 1, it's not guaranteed to give Onslaught on kill, and 2, Ashling Slam might remove Unaffected by Ignite, so you have to just make a new pair of boots from scratch. Also, attributes. Gloves. Temple mod gloves with attributes and recombined Abyssal Socket. There we put a jewel with phasing on kill. Again, recombinators, getting kicked out of the game will make these gloves impossible to craft. However, playing without phasing feels a lot worse than playing with phasing, so it would probably be worth to drop the temple mod for the Abyssal Socket and then like double tier 1 attributes or something. But this is what we have right now and would be the best to get. Next, we have +2 levels of socketed AoE gems. It's important for level 23 Purity of Lightning. By boosting it to level 23 and getting at least 80% increased aura effectiveness, we are getting +9 to max lightning resistance. And with Melding of the Flesh, that becomes +9 to all elemental max resistance, but at the cost of a huge negative elemental resistance penalty, which is not that hard to overcome because Omniscience is giving so much resistances. However, we still need more. We get Cold Resistance from the Hybrid Temple mod on gloves, Lightning Resistance from Purity of Lightning. As for Fire Resistance, we have to get 40 to 60 somewhere on our gear, depending on how much Omniscience you have. Temporary fix could be getting a Flask mod with up to 40% all elemental res. Last but not least, Belt. Mageblood. Again, build works without it, but it's great to boost your flasks for more defense and speed. The only must-have thing, no matter if you go with or without a Mageblood, is reduced effect of shock on you. Also get Jewel Implicits from Harvest on all of your non-corrupted jewels. 15% reduced effect of shock on you is very valuable before you get a Mageblood, and even with Mageblood, you could get enough to change a flask modifier. Other good implicits for your jewels to look out for: 1% increased movement speed and 15% chance to avoid being stunned. How to fit in all the auras. We use 3 passive mana reservation efficiency small cluster jewels, all of them with 35% increased effect, but with different notables at the end. 1 with the Righteous Path, 1 with Pure Aptitude, and 1 with Introspection. And the level for Enlighten in a 6-link of our auras: Determination, Defiance Banner, Hatred, Zealotry, Petrified Blood. We also use Herald Vice in the helmet linked with Anomalous Arrogance or level 21 Normal Arrogance to reserve less than 50% of our life so that we get Overleech benefits from Petrified Blood. Other gem setups: Assassin's Mark and Molten Shell in the helmet also for the juicy +1 level, Vortex, linked with Bone Chill, Culling Strike, and Arcane Surge, level 7 to activate from 1 cast. When boss rushing and normal mapping, I swap Culling Strike out for a Portal Gem. And my movement skill of choice is Phantasmal Lightning Warp, linked with less duration. If you choose to not do the melding version, then adding faster casting here feels amazing. As for the main 6-link, we go for Val Blade Vortex, Unleash, Power Charge on crit, Inspiration, preferably Divergent quality to make mono sustain less of an issue, crit damage, and Awakened Ink AoE. Passive tree and jewels. There are so many high value jewels and passives, but not that many passive points. Because of that, the tree changes a little bit based on what content you want to do. For example, beyond farming or map juicing in general would benefit more from an inspired learning than another 30% movement speed from a replica hot-headed, or for bossing you would rather get a few million more damage than more movement speed, right? So let's look at my favorite setup for boss, harvest, and deluge rushing. I'm using 2 8 passive large clusters, 1 elemental damage cluster with 35 effect, attributes, and life, and 1 cold damage cluster with Doriani's Lesson for life leech, blast freeze for freeze spread, and third notable to bring the other 2 to the front. I will leave a trait search for all acceptable variations of this jewel in the POB notes section. Molding of the Flesh to boost our elemental max res. Replica hot-headed and regular hot-headed for a massive amount of movement speed. Watcher's Eye with a Hatred crit and Zealotry effect lingers for 2 seconds. That gives us near permanent 50% reduced effect of curses on you and 6% life regen. Militant Faith Timeless Jewel, converted by High Templar Dominus, with 4% increased area damage or elemental damage per 10 devotion, and 1% increased effect of non-curse auras per 10 devotion. In this spot we get 90 devotion, so that already becomes a really juicy jewel. But it also gives a keystone, Inner Conviction. That gives 3% more spell damage per power charge, and since we have 9 power charges,
Now that's a lot of damage!
Unnatural Instinct. Super nice spot for it. Movement speed, life gain on kill, spell damage, some cast speed, and a little bit of attributes for Omniscience. Forbidden Flesh and Forbidden Flame jewels that grant Forbidden Power. They make power charge stacking a lot stronger, and it also gives a lot of AoE. And lastly, the before mentioned small reservation cluster jewels. Try to get as many attributes as possible on the suffixes. I'll quickly go through all the masteries if there are people that can't use POB. I got you, fam. And yep, that's gonna be it for the video. Let me know what you think, or if your head is empty, I guess you could leave that in the comments as well, if that's the case. Anyway, don't get frozen like this cat and subscribe to Shaksu. Bye.